The African savanna, a place where life and death are separated by a razor's edge. A lion, the proud king of this land, has been brought to his knees not by a worthy foe, but by a single fatal mistake. He lies there, motionless, exhausted, and awaiting an inevitable end. But a miracle is about to unfold as an unlikely helper appears. The African savanna in the dry season carries a stark, brutal beauty. Every blade of grass is scorched by the blistering sun, signaling a relentless fight for survival. The cracked earth, shimmering with heat, and the dusty wind all speak of a dwindling food supply. For a solitary male lion, hunting opportunities are growing ever more scarce, and every meal is a high-stakes gamble. The gnawing hunger drove him to a desperate decision. He spotted a porcupine, a formidable meal. Normally, an experienced lion would steer clear of this prickly creature, but desperation had clouded his judgment. The hunt happened in flash. With a confident pounce of a seasoned predator, the lion lunged forward, ready to deliver a decisive blow. But instead of a feast, he was met with a painful counterattack that pierced him to the bone. The porcupine, with its superb defensive instinct, curled into a ball and released dozens of sharp quills like a volley of arrows. Dozens of these tiny, but lethal, needles became embedded deep in the lion's flesh, piercing even his strongest muscles. His angry roar quickly turned into a weak groan. The king of the jungle's muscular body staggered, lost its balance, and collapsed onto the dry grass. He lay there, motionless, tried to use his teeth to pull out the needles, but every effort was in vain. The more he struggled, the more the pain intensified. It was a truly tragic sight. The king of the savanna was now incapacitated, his body a pincushion of quills. His breathing was heavy and ragged. Every gasp for air was an act of torture. His once commanding amber eyes were now half closed and vacant, reflecting utter despair. He had been defeated, not by a worthy rival, but by a fatal mistake and the desperation of hunger. We often see battles between species, but this was a different story. A story of vulnerability, pain, and helplessness. This was not just a moment in the wild. This was a moment that showed us even the strongest can fall to a seemingly harmless foe. He lay there, surrendering to fate, awaiting an inescapable end. A huge, dark silhouette lumbered into the frame. It was a massive male gorilla passing through the area by chance. He stopped, his keen eyes scanning the motionless lion. At first, his self-preservation instinct kicked in. A gorilla, a powerful and territorial creature, would typically view a predator like a lion as a potential threat. He kept a safe distance, ready to react to any move the lion made. But then he realized the truth. This was not a lion on the prowl, but a creature in immense pain, too exhausted to even stir. His initial caution quickly gave way to a strange hesitation. The gorilla's deep, dark eyes seemed to be contemplating something, a moment of deep thought rarely seen in wild animals. He looked at the lion, then looked around. A deep silence enveloped the space, broken only by the rustling wind and the lion's labored breaths. Was he realizing something that we, as humans, sometimes forget? That all living things are part of the same grand design, and pain is a universal language? Between two natural rivals, there was an unexpected understanding, an empathy that crossed all boundaries. For a second, then two, time seemed to stand still. Then the gorilla turned and walked away. It seemed like the end, a tragic outcome that was already decided. But no, a few minutes later, he returned. This time, he approached a little closer, enough for us to clearly see his contemplative expression. A decision had been made. The gorilla, a creature of the forest, a father, a leader, had chosen to act for another life. He did not follow his usual instinct to confront, but instead, a stronger instinct had emerged: compassion. This act not only helped the lion, but also gave us a profound lesson in kinship, in the selflessness found among creatures who seem to only know survival. His action was not impulsive, but a conscious choice, an act of pure courage. He knew he couldn't help the lion on his own, but he could seek help from another source. The snap of a dry branch echoed, catching the attention of a woman. It was Park Ranger Serena, on a solo patrol in her Jeep. Serena was a seasoned professional who had spent many years understanding and protecting this region. She always showed respect and caution toward all wildlife. When she turned around, she saw a strange sight, a large gorilla standing in the middle of the road, looking directly at her. At first, Serena was surprised and on high alert. She knew the potential danger of a male gorilla, but his behavior was strange. He let out a low, guttural sound, not a threatening growl. Then he turned his head, looked back in a certain direction, and then looked at her again, as if inviting her to follow. Serena hesitated. Could this be a trap? Or was it something entirely different? The gorilla's eyes expressed a sense of urgency, a desperate plea for help. Her heart told her that something was wrong. Her curiosity and her trust in her intuition won out. She decided to follow. She turned off her Jeep's engine, grabbed her tranquilizer gun, and carefully followed the gorilla's lead. This scene felt like something out of a fairy tale, but it was happening right now. Every step Serena took was filled with caution and a fragile sense of hope. The gorilla walked ahead, constantly looking back to make sure Serena was still following. The two, one human and one animal, moved together through dense bushes and over rocky outcrops. At times, the gorilla would stop and look her directly in the eye, as if to encourage her and reinforce her trust. Serena felt a strange connection, an invisible thread linking them, transcending the boundaries of species. Finally, they stopped. The gorilla stood to one side, yielding the way. When Serena walked forward and saw the scene before her, she almost held her breath. The male lion was lying there, his body covered in quills, breathing in labored gasps. Her initial fear vanished, replaced by a deep sense of empathy. The ranger immediately understood why the gorilla had led her there. She realized that the gorilla's courage was greater than any fear she had ever felt. The tension reached its peak. Serena took a deep breath, composed herself, and quickly assessed the situation. She knew she had to act fast, but with extreme caution, because a single wrong move could awaken the lion's defensive instincts, even in its weakened state. She grabbed her tranquilizer gun and carefully aimed at a spot on its body. Fire. A low dose of tranquilizer was injected into its body, just enough to immobilize it without harming it. The lion fell unconscious for a moment, giving the ranger enough time to perform her impromptu surgery. With trembling but determined hands, Serena knelt down beside the lion. Each quill was lodged deep in its skin, requiring immense patience and precision. She used a small pair of pliers, carefully pulling each one out. Blood welled up, and the new wounds were exposed. Serena had to suppress her fear and sorrow to focus entirely on the task. The scene was utterly silent, broken only by the lion's faint breaths and Serena's intense focus. And there was another strange thing. The gorilla was still there, just a few meters away, like a silent guardian. He showed no signs of aggression, simply watching. His eyes followed Serena's every move, as if entrusting a precious life to her care. This moment was truly magical. A lion, a gorilla, and a human had broken down the barriers of the natural world, coming together to fight for a single life. The gorilla's trust was the silent motivation that helped Serena overcome her fear. After many tense minutes, the last quill was finally removed. Serena let out a sigh of relief, sweat dripping down her forehead. The immediate danger had passed. She had performed a small miracle in this harsh wilderness, all thanks to her courage and empathy. She wiped the sweat from her brow and gently stroked the lion's messy mane, an act of respect and tenderness. With the wounds cleaned and bandaged, Serena took out her phone and called the rescue station, her voice trembling with emotion. A veterinary team would soon arrive to take the lion for long-term care. While waiting, she looked back at the gorilla. He was still there, motionless and silent. In a world that is so often defined by conflict, We were witnessing a strange and deeply respectful connection. The gorilla's action was not a simple one. It was an act of choice of faith. It had crossed natural boundaries to place its trust in a human, and Serena had responded with courage. Before the rescue vehicle arrived, Serena turned to look at the gorilla one last time. She said nothing, just gave a small nod as a profound thank you. The gorilla's deep eyes seemed to respond, conveying a wordless understanding and trust. It was a silent goodbye, and also a message that kindness always exists, no matter who you are or where you come from. Fear had been erased, leaving only respect. When the vehicle carrying the lion finally disappeared behind a grove of trees, the gorilla stood there for a moment, as if to ensure that the lion was truly safe. Then he slowly turned and walked back into the forest. His action was simply the completion of a mission. He had done everything he could, and now, the lion's life had been entrusted to humanity. This story is not just about saving an animal. It's a profound reminder that in the harsh world of the wild, sometimes it is the empathy between species and the courage of a human that saves a life. Each of us has the ability to make a difference, and compassion is the greatest force of all. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to our channel for more extraordinary stories from the natural world. Your support helps us share these vital messages with the world.